Hi YouTubers, my name is Kevin and you're watching The Royal We. In last night's message, I brushed over the topic of living from the inside out as opposed to from the outside in, which is typical of narcissistic abuse. We become accustomed to caring about the opinions of toxic environments and toxic people, and we allow that to dictate our lives, and it becomes crushing for us. In this message, I want to expand on that, and I want to talk about the importance of finding and gaining back our authenticity, your authenticity, and how important this is on your healing journey coming out of narcissistic abuse and coming out of toxic relationships, whether it's your family, your friends, your job, your ex, whatever. The importance is that you rediscover your true, authentic self. Now, we all have an authentic self. We all have our individual authenticity. And by the way, if you haven't already realized this, your typical narcissist and toxic people cannot stand your authenticity. We've talked about this in other messages. If there's one thing that narcissists don't like, it's individuality. They absolutely hate it. Most narcissists are very much a tribal mentality. They have to be a part of a collective narcissism, people who they can triangulate against others, people amongst who they can gossip with, people amongst whom they can fight for a position with. And in a collective narcissistic group, there are positions, there are ranks, there is the top of the dominance hierarchy, and then people usually fight in the middle for position, and you may have been caught up in that fight, which is like a weird dog fight, right? And then there's the bottom, there's the scapegoat. Ultimately, the scapegoat is the person who is like, I'm done. I'm out of this crazy hellhole of a tribal, collective, narcissistic family. I'm out. I don't want to be a part of this community. It's disturbing, right? So that is what it's like in a narcissistic community. There's really no room for authenticity. There's no room for individuality, but your authenticity is who you are. Now, you've always had an authentic person within you. That is what is living inside of you. And at one point in time, you may have been thriving off of this authenticity. When you were in school, perhaps, or when you were in college, or when you were in high school and you were really going after some things that you discovered that you're good at. And here's how you know it's authentic. Here's the absolute truth about living authentically, is that you do not require the opinion of anybody else. It's something that you just manage to fall into and you just go. And it's as if the whole world gets shut out around you. So now, how do you lose your authenticity? When it comes to your experience with toxic and narcissistically abusive people, it is possible to grow complacent in your own authenticity. What do I mean by that? If you're not challenging yourself in your authenticity, you can get bored with it. You can. Or not necessarily bored with it, but what can happen is something else can seem better and more exciting than your own authenticity. This is something that we all are vulnerable to, and this typically happens with narcissists and toxic individuals when they come into our lives, whether they're family, friends, coworkers, a possible love interest. It's the classic, the grass looks greener on that other side sort of thing. And we get up and we leave the authentic self behind. Whatever it was that we were working on, that we didn't care about what people thought, we just did it. We get up and we walk away from that and we gravitate towards this new experience, which is a radical rush of emotions that we experience in the beginning of a toxic relationship, also known as the love bombing phase of the relationship. And what we don't realize is that it's pulling us further away from our true authenticity, because the more time we're spending in the toxic relationship, the less time we're putting in to our authentic, true selves. Now, here's the biggest problem with leaving your authenticity behind. As you leave your authenticity, that's the place where you are being you, and it doesn't matter what anybody else says. But now you're completely relying on the validation from them. So what's happened now is now you've stopped completely living from the inside. You stopped living from that genuine place inside of you where you don't require any outside opinion or validation, and now you are completely dependent on the validation of toxic people, of the narcissists, and of other people, and this turns into the need of validation for the world. And before you know it, you are falling into the dangerous zone of not being authentic and instead being reactive and responsive to the world around you. That is how we get to this place where we are reacting to everything that is going on. Now, so one of the things that we have to understand is that we do have a tendency to step away from our authentic true selves and fall into the tragic place of paying attention to what's outside of us. We fall into that place where everything outside of us matters, and we allow that to dictate how we run and operate our lives as we forget about our authentic self. Okay? We have a tendency to do that. What we have to understand is that we must dominate and control within ourselves our tendency to leave our authentic self. It is so important during the healing journey of narcissistic abuse that we start to gain some momentum back towards our authenticity. We start to look back to the things that we enjoy doing. We start to go back to those things that we're capable of that really shut out the world around us and allow us to produce and to give back into the world without worrying about what anybody has to say or think or do. Because it doesn't depend on them, it depends with us. So as we make our way back, we're going to stumble back. It's not an easy transformation. Once we leave that, we lose the momentum we had in being authentic. So we got to stumble back into our authenticity. I'm going to share with you my story of what it looked like for me. When I was in college, I was obviously very heavily enjoyed being a part of music, but I also studied film and television production. I used to aspire to make music videos and be a creative visual person. That's just something I enjoyed doing. And so as I stumbled back into my healing journey, I decided to turn on a camera once again, and the Royal We was born. And from that, I even expanded and kind of fell back into what I really enjoyed doing, which was creatively expressing things and using different visuals. And if you go back, you can find Royal We videos, actually not that long ago, where I would open up the video with drone shots and all kinds of stuff and going up in the arch in St. Louis and trains. And I really enjoyed this part of piecing the videos together. And I still do, by the way. I know I put a pause on it, and the reason I have, for those of you who follow the Royal We, is because I've gained the understanding that when I'm talking with people one-on-one about healing from narcissistic abuse, this is my first passion, really, is helping people. And I have to put that aside because it causes people to lose interest. It can interrupt the message, in other words. And I'm not at a place where I'm able to really effectively integrate the message that you need to hear with the visuals. That's a whole new level of learning that I've still yet to do. But the reality is I was stepping back slowly into my authenticity. This is my authentic self. And it was nerve-wracking at first because the narcissists and toxic people did a really good job of making me feel like I'm not capable, because that's what they do in all of our lives. They make it seem like what we do is silly, we're not capable of doing it. And so it really takes a lot to get back into your authenticity and to go for it. But once you get back into your authenticity during your healing journey from narcissistic abuse, you will once again be living from the inside, and you will not need the validation of narcissists or toxic people or anybody. You will go and produce based on who you are and do what you enjoy doing, whether it's bike riding, mountain climbing, being a creative visual person, whatever the case may be. This is your authenticity. And when you get onto your path of authenticity again, I promise you, the thoughts, the anger, the opinions of the toxic, abusive narcissists, they fade away as you enter back into your world from living within. And by the way, you never experience narcissistic abuse again so long as you are living authentically. A narcissist cannot touch you as long as you are living authentically I think I'm saying that word too much because it's starting to get me tongue-tied. A narcissist or a toxic person can't touch you living authentically. Absolutely cannot. The only way a toxic person or a narcissist can even come close to affecting you is by attracting you and seducing you off of your path of authenticity into their world. And that's where they work on you to get you to become dependent on them in their world of collective narcissism. This is also why they hate you as you pull away, because they lost power. They lost. You win when you find your authenticity. You win when you no longer need them in your life for anything, period, end. And listen, I want to be a part of your healing journey to help you rediscover your true authenticity and to get away from the toxic, abusive relationships. Visit www.jointheroyalwe.com. There you can schedule your one-on-one appointment with me. We could do a FaceTime appointment for you Apple users. We could do a telephone consultation. We could even do a text message consultation. Also, visit or join rather every Monday night Royal We Live Chat. It's where the community comes together. We ask questions, answer questions, and you can even call in for free as long as you know that you will be live. But it is a great time of learning. And last but not least, my very favorite new venture is Royal We Fellowship. Every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock a.m., it's an in-depth look into the ancient literature of the Bible, and we are looking at it from the perspective of understanding that the world is very toxic and narcissistic. It's unlike any other Bible teaching and Bible study you've been a part of. I encourage you, if you're a person of faith, but you have lost your desire to go and be a part of modern Western Christianity, then consider joining the Royal We Fellowship every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. You can find links to these channels and much more down below in the description box. In addition to that, you will find Instagram and Facebook. And by the way, for those of you who want to know what I'm doing as far as the creative shots and videoing and stuff like that, you'll find that on my Instagram. So visit Instagram and you'll probably see more creative stuff going on there while I reserve this for just talking with you. And I'll be back with more videos for you right here on the Royal We.